Welcome to From Beyond with your host, Glenn Boddice. Join me as we explore spirituality, self-help, and channeling spirit. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium. And welcome to this week's episode. And before we go on and tell you what's happening in this week's episode, I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and you had some amazing times with your family, your friends, your loved ones. So just wanted to put that out there. But actually, in today's episode, what we're going to be doing is deep diving into the subject of a tender heart. Also in this week's episode, we have the channeling coming in from the world of spirit, which sees me a vessel for spirit to bring their wisdoms through and communications. And then later on in this episode, we have a sneaky peek into this week's forecast reading. So let's dive deep, everybody. As I say, we're talking about a tender heart. What am I referring to with that heading? Well, first of all, I'm talking about those of you that are of a sensitive, loving, high vibrational nature. Well, you don't even have to be high vibrational. You just have to be true to yourself. So we're going to dive into this subject. So first of all, I want to remind all of you that you are a blessing to this world. And I know sometimes that can be a little bit triggering to hear that. You are a blessing to this world, but just go with it, okay? Just go with what I'm saying right now. So don't hide your magnificent vibration, because we're all here for a reason. We all play a role, and our vibration is one that is part of this universe. And so hiding behind something else to mask that authenticity of your own isn't really conducive to the mass population, in my opinion anyway. You can hide for so long and then eventually you do have to come out of the shadows, so to speak. So I want to remind you of that fact. You are a blessing to this world. Anybody triggered yet? Hopefully not. Stick with me. So with this being the case, I want to encourage you not to change in order to fit in. And how many times, I'm sticking my hands up right now, have we all been in a situation where we've maybe diluted our true authenticity, maybe changed the way that we communicate with certain individuals, above other individuals, in order to fit in, to be liked, to be listened to be appreciated. We've all done it at some stage in our life. But I'd like to encourage you to be your true you, to be your true authentic version of yourself. And if people, whoever you mingle with, don't like that, then that is their representation and observation, not yours. So don't let that pull you down. It is easier to say than do. I know. I've been in this position many times myself, and it does take great courage in order to be yourself. And if we put it this way, if you can't be yourself, then who can you be? Do you know what I mean? You've just got to be yourself. So I'm encouraging you to do that. Your uniqueness, as we've previously said, is your blessing. Because let's face it, if we were all carbon copies of each other, life would be very unstimulating. We wouldn't learn anything, would we? We'd just be going round in circles and following procedures and schedules, and it would just, there'd be no variety, there'd be no adventures, there'd be nothing to learn from, would there? Because we'd all be doing the same thing. So you are I would say, and I've said this many times before, you are a teacher and you are a student, all in that same vibration. So by being and living in your true authenticity, you're amplifying that vibration out there into the universe. I want to move on slightly and talk about a tender heart. And I want to talk about your heart center. And let's go there, the heart chakra, in the center of the chest, just slightly off your physical heart, but it is connected. And I want to say that in my experience, this is a portal. A portal, I hear you cry. Yes, it is a gateway for divine source energy to work through you. Work through you, I hear? Yes, it certainly does. So what I mean by that, I mean, when you're living your true authenticity and you're just having that moment, it all is, everything just is. Stop over complicating things. It is. When you live in that present state and you become more aware of your heart center portal. And this, as I've said, where divine source energy can work through you. And the reason why it does this is so that it can have an impact not only on your vibration, on your authenticity, but also have a ricocheting effect on everything and everyone around you. And we'll go into more depth with that in a moment. But your heart center as well is an amazing place for you to receive the true essence of who you are, your likes, your dislikes, your mannerisms. You just get a feeling about something. I've got a feeling, I feel it. You just have a knowing. And I would say that information comes through that heart center there. And when you're in that is vibration, the acceptant vibration of the now moment consciousness, then that's when you're more likely to be aware of what we're talking about. But with this being the case, the healing, the divine source energy can create healing, and it can create a massive impact on not only yourself, because as we say, you can receive those high vibrational frequency codes and downloads and an upgrade, so to speak. I mean, most of you, I'm going slightly off topic, that are listening to this will have experienced change in your life. And when you reminisce about who you were as a child to who you are as an adult, there's a massive amount of learning and change and expansion that has occurred in between those, shall we call it, time points of your timeline there. There's a massive amount of change that's occurred. And I would say a lot of this is down to the experiences that you had, to how those experiences made you feel in that present moment, which would have influenced your decision-making process, and that would also influence the way that you feel moving into those new experiences. And this is where the healing can occur. And with this being said, there is also along the journey there's a part of you that maybe you're not fully conscious of that goes through a grieving process. As I say, we're constantly changing with every single moment, with every single day. And with this being the case, there's a part of us that has to live in that is moment, that now moment consciousness, and accept, look, we are where we are. There's no point in getting frustrated and angry. Instead, we're going to grieve that old version of ourselves that we can no longer live in that vibrational alignment anymore because things have changed. We've changed. We change in every single second, in every moment, in every single day. And when you accept that, this healing can then move through you. and come through the heart center as it does so. And as it does that, as I say, it can make a massive impact on your own life to begin with, influencing your decision-making process and making you feel more calm, more in alignment, less agitated, and just being right here, right now. It can also, when you're happy and comfortable and acceptant of that information, it can then make an impact on the people around you, maybe your friends, your family, your associates, your colleagues, can benefit from you being acceptant of this beautiful energy filtering through you, through your uniqueness. And it can influence them. It can make them see things differently, feel things differently, connect into their truth rather than emulating everybody else around them. So you can, in actual fact, be a trigger for change or alignment, whichever way you want to perceive that, with those around you. You can also make an impact on animals as well, our pets. Our pets are a perfect example because they pick up on our vibration ahead of seeing or experiencing our physicality. And a great example of this is how many of you have experienced this where you've gone to somebody's house, they have a dog, and that dog's can be quite agitated and quite aggressive, territorial, if you say. And when you go into that environment and you say hello and, you make a fuss of that animal, they calm down. Their behavior is completely different when you meet up with them. And I would say that is because that animal is picking up on your vibrations, your energy, and they feel safe. They feel calm in your presence. So already you're having an impact on creatures and animals around you. It can also have an impact when you're doing nature walks. You may find that you're on a particular walk and all of a sudden you're a little bit like Dr. Dolittle, and the animals seem to flock to you without you making any commands, without you making a noise, anything like that. You may find that sparrows, birds, flock to your feet. I know it sounds like a Disney film I'm describing here, but I assure you it isn't. It does actually happen. Horses in a field, they may be the other side of the field, then all of a sudden they're gravitating towards you as you walk down a footpath there. It's very interesting. Cows, sheep will do it as well. Other wild animals will do it. Ducks, swans, you name it. You can have an impact and you can see it quite visually when you are paying attention, I want to say as well. But moving on, places as well can benefit from that beautiful energy in your heart and your vibration and your authenticity. For example, how many times have you been to a location? Maybe you've never been to that location ever before, and you walk in that environment and it feels a little bit hostile, a little bit cagey, and there's something that doesn't feel quite right. You can't put your finger on it, but you feel it. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. As many of you know, I'm also a musician. I'm a drummer and a singer as well. And so when I play gigs or concerts, whatever terminology you wish to use, I've been in some of these locations where you feel that energy and it can feel quite overwhelming, unwelcoming in some venues. And I don't feel that is the genuine intention of those people that own those locations. I just feel as though it's a collective of mental, emotional energy, energy over time that's overlaid and built up and built up and built up, and sort of sat there in that environment. Well, I would say from my own experience, when you perform your music or you stay in that environment for long periods of time, you start to notice that energy changes. It shifts with your vibration being in connection with it. And what I mean by this is that oppressive, uncomfortable feeling, emotion that you initially felt when you walked in there starts to dissolve. And I would say that that occurs from a number of reasons. One being your vibration, your energy is transmuting those healing vibrations out into that environment, into that atmosphere. And those heightened vibrations are moving out those lower vibrations, delivering healing where it is needed. Now, obviously, with playing and performing music as well, and having such a beautiful bond with the band that I'm in, our collective energy blends beautifully. And the music that we create, the vibrations, the frequency tones within that music composition also adds to cleansing, to healing the vibration of that space and that property. And when we do finish the gig or the concert, we pack down the equipment and we're all in high spirits, obviously, with the adrenaline, with the rush of playing in front of people and performing. And but also when you're taking your equipment out into the van and everything like that, you walk back in, again, you're being reintroduced into that location. And so you feel that energy shift yet again every time you go in and out of that building after a performance. So it does make a difference. Your vibration does have that ripple effect, and it goes far and wide. Also, your vibration can be very inspiring to others, just being in the presence of others. And I'm not saying this as an ego exercise that without you, nothing can happen. No, that is not the truth. As you know, we are all equal. We can all do this. And it's, I would say, a conscious decision to let your beautiful essence, your true authenticity, your heart to be open that makes the difference. So when you make that decision, when you are around people, they may get inspired, they may get ideas, they may want to make changes in their own lives and to turn their lives around. And they may get that inspiration as you're in their presence. And this is because your heart chakra is a portal, as I say, for divine source energy to work through. And so if it can find a path of least resistance in order to get to those individuals, then it's going to select you as that portal in order to be that deliverer, if that's such a word, of that high vibrational frequency and inspiration to come through you. So just pay attention, observe, and watch what happens. You may have heard me mention many times on previous episodes when I've spoken about I've gone to various locations around the UK. And initially, that inspiration to go there came through the heart portal. I just had a feeling, I had a pull on my heartstrings. I didn't know why I had to go to these locations, but I trusted. I felt into the feeling of that. And the more that I focused my attention and feeling onto that inspiration, the more information I got about it. And I was then guided to, obviously, to find the location using maps and things like that, parking spaces and all of that, places of interest. And upon going to that location, I would then also trust that feeling, that pull, that magnetic calling in my heart, where I had to walk, where I had to drive. And unknowing to me at the time, I just knew I had to be there. I knew I had to go there. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't rationalize it whatsoever. And it was only until after I'd been to that location and I'd had a good look round, a good walk round, that my spirit guides had filled me in with the details, and they told me, do you know why you've gone there today? And I would reply by saying, well, not really, but I did feel that calling in my heart. Well, you went there because there were some broken ley lines in the vibration of that location, and that divine energy, that spark, that healing that location needed wasn't getting it in its full capacity. So the purpose of you going there, and again, this is not an ego exercise, it happens to us all. So when you're paying attention and putting that focus on the heart portal there, they were saying that when you go there and when you did that walk round, what you were doing is you were bringing healing codes, healing energy through the heart center, through the heart portal. And that was then pulling those ley lines back together, to repairing them, to make a circuit again, so that this divine energy could work through that location in that area and continue giving inspiration and healing and guidance to those people and plants and fauna and animals and even buildings for that matter, even vehicles, everything within those ley lines where they were receiving those new vibrational codes that were intended for that area. So my guide said, that's why you were called to go there. And yes, they said you will have had a good time. We made sure that you would have the funds to get there and back, and you would get fed, you would get watered, and you would enjoy it. But you wouldn't necessarily understand until we just told you why you've been there. And so it made a lot of sense. And this has happened lots of times wherever I've felt that inclination to visit. And if I'm honest with you, when I think, right, I could do with a change of scenery, I have to feel into it. And if I'm not feeling that call, as I've described, I won't go there. I won't go there. I have to feel that synchronicity, that calling for me to go to a new location. So I just thought I'd share that example with you that, this healing energy makes a massive impact on not only yourself, but everything around you as well. So as I've said, like the example I've given you, is follow your instincts. We've all felt this before, haven't we? That calling, that intense sensation where we can't ignore it, we can't shake it off, and we try to distract ourselves with other things. Maybe part of us doesn't want to make the effort, doesn't want to do things like that, but our instincts are telling us something different. Now, instincts, as we know, don't necessarily come in the form of words. It's usually a feeling to begin with. And as that feeling intensifies, this is how it works for me, I then begin to see visuals in my mind's eye. So maybe places, environments. I may be drawn to look at something on social media with an environment, a location. And as I look at it, I feel that magnetic pull getting stronger and stronger. So at that point, I do research on it and it gets stronger and stronger, amplifying itself. And it is that I believe is the instinct and is that healing and that magnetic calling coming through the heart portal there. And so trust your instincts every single step of the way rather than, overanalyzing them. I also want to offer this as a suggestion to you all. Now, obviously, it's your own choice. You've got to come to this conclusion. But again, using your instincts, you will know when to be kind to others, when you have to, we talk about helpful gestures like opening a door, helping somebody with their shopping. Maybe somebody's fallen over near you and your instinct is to go over, pick them up and make sure that they're all right. So your instincts will kick in. Now, sometimes part of the mind in between that process of your instincts kicking in, your mind will say, oh, I can't do that. Everybody's looking. What will everybody think? Will people think I'm silly doing this? We've all been there. Let's face it. Let's be honest. We've all had that experience. So when you have the inclination and your instincts kick in to be kind, to assist others, to help them in whatever shape or form, you will have that little thought in your head. At this point, ignore it. The feelings will get louder and louder, more amplified, and that will then turn into action so that you can help that individual. You can show that kindness. This is what it's all about. That heart portal has opened up and Source, Creator, Divine Energy, whatever terminology you wish to use, is taking that opportunity to work through you and assist. Give that help, give that high healing even, and that guidance, and let those individuals know that they're not on their own. People care. People notice them. People see them. People sense them. And so I would say it can be very conflicting at the time. The longer you leave it is the hardest. So, for example, you see somebody fall down in the middle of a town centre, and your instinct is, oh my goodness, poor thing, what can I do to help? And you initially start to walk over there, and then suddenly, like I said, the mind will kick in. Oh, is anybody else doing it? Nobody else is going over. Should I really be doing this? What happens if danger comes? And again, ignore it. I did this a few years ago now, and I believe I was in Norwich, of all places. Yes, and I was there on one of these visits that I've just described, where I didn't know why I had to be there, but I knew I had to be there. And this gentleman, bless him, who was walking down the street there, and he tripped over one of the paving stones, and he was an elderly gentleman, and he fell flat down on his face on the floor. And you could hear it. It was very busy in that city, and people were just walking by. And my instinct was, I need to go over. Well, I didn't even think about it. I just did it. I just felt it, and I did it. And I went over to him. I assisted him. I helped him up. He was a little embarrassed, and he says, "Oh, I'm all right. I'm all right." And he brushed himself down. And I believed he had a little bit of a bloody nose that was starting where he'd fallen on the pavement. But I think the embarrassment factor of all of it far outweighed the pain as well that he would have been feeling. And obviously his adrenaline would have kicked in to subside that pain that he would have been feeling. But anyway, my point being is I trusted my instincts. I didn't think. I just did. I moved. I acted. And maybe on some level, going back to what I was saying about the heart's calling, the magnetic quality, that could have been potentially one of the reasons why I was called to go and visit Norwich, of all places, to be there, to show that kindness, that love, that this gentleman is appreciated. He's recognised. He is loved by the universe. He's supported by the universe. Maybe that was the message for him. Whether or not he understood that, I don't know. It's not my business to get involved in that level. But anyway, he was a lovely, kind guy, and I feel as though the embarrassment factor far outweighed anything else in that encounter, and he just dusted himself down and got up, got his breath and his composure back, and then he was on his way. Luckily enough, it wasn't a sustainable injury to my knowledge, and he just carried on his business there. But I've been in other locations as well where I've had something of a similar nature occur, and I believe this was in Bakewell in Derbyshire. Again, going back to what I was saying, I didn't know why I had to go there. I've been there many, many times, and on one particular weekend, I just felt I've got to get away. Where do I need to go? And then I got that pull, that calling to Bakewell in Derbyshire. And I was like, well, okay, I've been there many times before. Nothing new to see there. It's a beautiful place. Don't get me wrong. Nice people, nice community there. So anyway, I trusted my instincts and I went there. And I was walking around the town looking. I love the charity shops there, so I was looking around there, bit of charity shop diving, as I like to call it. And anyway, I was walking back to the van from the town centre, still on the outskirts of town where there was some shops and everything. Very, very busy because I believe it was a Saturday, and there was lots of traffic and buses on the road as well, driving through, as you would expect in a picturesque place such as Bakewell in Derbyshire. But my point being was, as I was walking down this street there, there was a noise that I believe startled a dog, and this dog was on a lead, and it was being held by its owner on the lead on this pavement. And this noise startled it, and this poor dog, bless it, it bolted and it slipped the lead and started running out of sheer fear of this noise. And at that moment in time, I happened to be walking down that street. Like I say, it was very busy on the road. And at that precise moment, again, I felt that I could see this dog hurtling towards me. I didn't think once. I just trusted my instincts. I got myself prepared and I bent down and I managed to get this dog by its collar to stop it running into the road. It was only a small dog as well, beautiful little thing, and it was scared to death. So I managed to hold it, and then the owner was obviously pursuing it in chase, came over to me, said, "Oh, thank you so much. My goodness," says, "that could have been a lot worse." And there was buses going by and all sorts. So again, potentially, I could have been magnetically drawn to that location, again, through the heart center, the heart portal, to be at the right place at the right time to help that little dog live another day, so to speak. And again, I don't want to take credit for this. I like to see it as universal energy, spirit, divine source, whatever you want to call it there. It will always use the path of least resistance. So if there's anybody that is particularly open in the heart center that will be hearing that call, that will be listening to that pull, that magnetic calling, and follows it, then that energy is going to work through it in order to help, guide, heal, support, show love, show kindness. It's going to use that. So I thought I'd give you a few more examples there, but and I'm sure many of you listening to this have had a catalogue of examples that have happened to you throughout the course of your life where you felt that it's just like a calling, isn't it? It's an intuition. You can't shake it off. You don't even think about it. You just act upon it and do it. And as a result of you doing that, you've made an impact, maybe a shift on the lives. Even though that they can't see it at that moment in time, it's maybe changed their perception on some way, shape or form. And this is due to the fact that source energy is using the path of least resistance to make that impact. That just blows my mind. Blows my mind. All the little nuances of life that can be changed in every single moment. Excuse me. And we're supported by this unseen sensation, feeling, source energy that binds us all together. I just love that. Let's talk about self-care and maintenance, shall we? Moving on. Having a tender heart, as I'm sure many of you listening to this have experienced this on many levels, that, let's face it, in certain pockets of society, you can be perceived as being weak, as being vulnerable, as being a prime target for bullying or, ridicule. Unfortunately, that can be the case. And, this potentially is why most people that are or do have a tender heart tend to close themselves down, put a shield or a barrier around themselves, only letting certain individuals learn or know so much about them. They may have a small circle of friends around them that they feel comfortable and in alignment with, so that they can open up a little bit more and be their true authenticity. Well, obviously, underneath all of that, there's a vibration of fear that needs to be eradicated. And the only way that we can do that is by projecting love, showing trust, and listening to our intuition to get us out of that. So with this being the case, self-care and maintenance is about you looking after yourself, showing yourself love and compassion that you give so openly and freely to others around you. Trusting your instincts when it comes to yourself, not working out of habit or following old triggers or patterns in your life. And that is so easy to do. And I'm not judging by stating this. By showing yourself love, care and compassion, as we've said, you can move yourself out of those stumbling blocks in your life. You can move beyond them and move into new territory, a new timeline where you can flow, you can flourish with abundance, with inspiration, with energy. So self-care is very important, and maintenance as well. You know, we've all felt overwhelmed at times, and we've all been in, say, situations where there's a mass amount of people, maybe crowds or shopping or something like that, and we feel overwhelmed. How many of you listening have felt that? Well, at that moment in time, you can't wait to get home. You've had enough. It's too overstimulating. So you either walk, you get the public transport, or get your your vehicle and drive home. And you get home, and the first thing you do when you get in, you put the bags down and you go, that's better. And of course, when we breathe out, we're releasing that trapped energy that's been putting us in that feeling of frustration and overwhelm. We're releasing that straight away. We feel more comfortable in our own environment. We can let our guard down, because let's face it, when you're in environments and you have that guard, that shield, that energetic shield, invisible shield around you, it can be very energetically draining for you, holding that up, being conscious that that's there. Somebody says something to you and you just give one-word responses because you don't want to let them into your life. That takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy, so that can be draining. So part of self-care is trusting the universe has your back, you're safe, you are protected. Again, to be your true, authentic self. So by allowing that guard to drop, by being aware that you're putting it up there, and it could come from triggers throughout your course of your life that are coming up, and that's your natural safety mechanism response, is being aware of that and stop doing it. You know, who you're harming at the end of the day, you're harming yourself. You're dulling your light. You're not living the full, beautiful experience that you came here to have on your timeline in your life. So self-maintenance, taking time out just to observe these habits and understand why you do them. Where are these habits attached to? Where did they start from? Then you can eradicate them out of your life and start living a more fruitful life. Having said this though, there still is a need to set some healthy boundaries. And what I mean by that, it's beautiful having a tender heart, a loving heart, a caring heart, and projecting that out there. But there are certain personality types, and I'm not judging by saying this, that will spot you a mile off, and they will see this as a meal ticket. They will see this as an easy ride because they can manipulate, or so they think, your generosity for their own gains. So this is where you need to be very, very mindful of that, and you need to be able to read people's energy, their vibration. And of course, you're going to be kind, you're going to be loving, but also you're going to realize when people are overly doing it, taking advantage of you, and where that energy isn't balanced anymore. And we've all felt it when we've been in this position and we feel like we're being taken for granted. We start to feel drained, tired, and yet the people around us are full of beans, full of inspiration, full of energy. And that's because they're taking a part of your energy. They're overtaking in many respects. So you have to observe this sensation and recognize that actually I need to curb it slightly. Yes, I will help you, but I will do this, this, and this, not all of your demands. So by healthily, if that's such a word, saying no and setting these healthy boundaries before things can escalate and get what's the word I'm after? Uncontrollable. That's the word I was going for. So it's very healthy that you do this. And finally, I want to remind you all that your vibration, your energy, who you are, the energy, your true authenticity that filters through your heart center portal is your legacy. Because obviously when we all make our transition and, friends, family, people that we know, associates are talking about us and remembering us, a lot of the time they don't remember us for the clothes that we wore or the new car that we bought or, the way that we did this, the way that we did that, the work that we did. A lot of the time they remember us for our vibration, how we made them feel when we were around them. That is a beautiful legacy that we're all going to leave behind one day. So why not start as you mean to go on? So from this moment onwards, I want you to be brave, courageous, and let that tender heart of yours heal, then open up and let that beautiful vibration leave that legacy for you. Well, I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas. And if you're anything like me, you're enjoying the rest, you're enjoying the catch up with your family members and your friends, but also you're feeling a little bit anxious and restless because of this particular part of the year. With this being said, do take this as an opportunity to actually rest and recalibrate and just enjoy being here now in the moment. It's a beautiful part of the year, I feel, that this week is. So if you're anything like me, just resist the urge to keep yourself busy and just enjoy the rest while you can. It's a very unusual part of the year, isn't it? But anyway, I hope you are all making some plans for the year of 2026. And if you're anything like me, I realized in this year of 2025, the buzzword of the year for me was surrender. So with that lesson being learned, I'm going to adopt that into the year of 2026. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't be as much as a struggle and as a challenge as this year has been for myself. Although it has been fruitful in many, many ways with some of the projects and people, beautiful people that I've met along the way. I'm just embodying that word. So now we're going to move into the next section of the show, which is this week's channeling from the world of spirit. So sit back, relax, put your feet up and enjoy the information from spirit.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me to come through in this broadcast. I have many things to communicate with you. One of those things is connected to what you would describe as the spiritual realm. And shall we call them entities or spirit beings coming through into your physical dimension? Although you must understand it is not as physical as what you are led to believe, as everything is in a constant flux of transformation. Well, we want to let you know that at this moment in time, and in all moments in time, but more obvious now than ever, there's a lot of, shall we use the term, spirit beings and communicators coming through into your dimension. These spirit communicators only bring love and healing, yet there are some entities or spirits that are, shall we say, trapped on your dimension simply because they choose not to transcend and go into the light. A lot of these beings are now being forced to face their fears and actually make that transition into the light. And because of this shift in perception, there's going to be a lot of what you would describe as happenings, unusual happenings in your environments, things moving, voices being heard, images being seen out of the corner of your eye and a lot of activity on a spiritual level. This is because these spirit beings will need to be helped along their way to be reconnected with their soul path. The truth of the situation is coming to the surface, and that encapsulates what we're trying to say in a nutshell. The truth, energies, frequencies are forcing all lower base frequencies to come up to the surface and face their misdemeanors, their untruths, and do that soul rescue work and that inner work. There's a lot of that happening at the moment all around your physical dimension. Now, a lot of these spiritual entities will need that reassurance, will need that encouragement and love and healing so that they can make that transition into the world of light, back home. But having said that, there's also a lot of beings from the world of spirit that are spending quite a lot of time in your dimension, coming through intentionally to help you rise and shine from the doldrums of the old into the new. Now, the inspiration that is coming through will help you understand what is occurring in your dimension. The inspiration will help you recognize your own divinity and how you can interact with it on a daily basis. And when you do so, you will move mountains. Your belief systems will have to be let go of, obviously, in order to get to this level of transformation, but you will undoubtedly do it anyway. You will feel that calling, you will feel that pull, and you will do it regardless of the consequences. Not as if there is any consequences, only the fact that there'll be those individuals, the physical beings, that will still be on that vibration of fear. They will look at you a little bit unusual as you make this push forward in a higher dimensional frequency state of being. Now, a lot of the spirit communicators only come in love and light, as we've previously mentioned on here. And so their role, their job is to help you ascend and grow and understand the synchronicities of your life and on your life path. And those of you that are observing all of the signs and symbols and numbers and repetitive messages that we're pushing through so that you can at least understand the information, those of you that are understanding that will recognize that there's going to be a lot of ease and flow and grace in your life when you do so. Your manifestation powers will be amplified, so it is to your best advantage to be careful about what your dominant thought processes are, and also the energy and vibrations and actions that you are putting out into the ether, as you will be creating and manifesting at a higher and faster vibration. This being said, there's a lot of people that will be jealous of this creational energy that you're tapping into, and they'll think that you have some sort of special power or something of that nature, and we simply say that you all have this capability of manifesting and bringing through the things that you require on your timeline. However, those of you that aren't paying attention and aren't listening to the spiritual influences that are coming in at the moment aren't going to make that leap into that higher vibrational state of being. But with this being said, everybody returns to this state of being, just on a different, shall we say, different timeline, a different timeline to yours that are paying attention. So nobody is greater or lesser than one another. You'll also notice that the communications that do come in from spirit will be very, very significant and prominent in their understanding, the way that they're coming through. You'll experience spirit when you're driving in a vehicle. You'll experience spirit when you're in your home, when you're traveling, it will be more obvious than now that spirit is literally always around you wherever you go. And in fact, you're operating on different frequency bands, and because your vibration is heightening that little bit much more, it's great when you know what to do, isn't it, in all situations. I know that sounds quite a big statement to start off this communication with, but what we're saying is you already have the answers. You've had them all the time. They've been kept within your heart vibration. So when you're feeling that a little bit lonely or feeling a little bit disconnected from everything that the previous communicator has just been describing, the techniques, the way to communicate with spiritual energy and spiritual beings, then all you have to do is simply connect in with your heart. You have the tools to do it. I don't care whether you're a medium, whether you're a large, whether you're an extra large. No, I'm joking, obviously. No, I'm talking about in terms of your awakening. It doesn't matter one jot. Trust, listen, and let it come through you. You'll know what to do when it occurs, and you'll find yourself communicating and talking with spirit energy like you would a regular person, somebody in your own dimension. It will feel very, very naturalistic, and it will have a sense of ease and growth and respect when you do these communications. But another reason, shall I say, why I've been permitted to come through is I just want to tell you a little bit about your own personal development. There'll be a lot of you that will be ascending to such a degree that you'll feel like your heart chakra will be fit to burst. The amount of love and joy that will be filtering through that will be phenomenal, like nothing you've ever encountered in your life. And this love vibration will ricochet wherever you go, wherever you walk, whoever you choose to spend your time with, or at least go share your vibration with. That information, that energy information will be spread, and a domino effect will be caused. And with doing that, one by one, it's going to shift the vibration of your planet, of the Earth. Having said that, there's going to be a select amount of people that have chosen not to go down that path at this moment in time. Now, we're not condoning or judging these individuals, because it's all down to personal growth and ascension and evolution and lessons learned and things of that nature. But just bear in mind that a lot of these individuals have made that conscious choice in their soul plan before they came down here in this incarnation. So it's not something they can necessarily just change and fix in a heartbeat. They've already agreed to do it, so they might go down a pathway where it alludes, or it seems that they're going in the direction of the love and the light. But in actual fact, they made that soul agreement so that they could emanate lower frequencies. So those souls that are expanding their awareness and their consciousness can actually do that. Because if you can understand, there needs to be dark and there needs to be light. There needs to be that balance, because without the dark, you wouldn't know the light. Without the light, you wouldn't know the dark. And so it's a case of these energies, different frequencies are there to serve the greater good. Although from your perception, at times you feel as though that, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. That's really dark. That's lower base frequency stuff. Well, yes, you're observing that because you're from a lighter perspective, but without having that knowledge, it would just be, wouldn't it? It would just exist. And you would be part of that. And what we're suggesting to you, that you are part of that, but it's helping you to catapult into these higher frequencies, so that you can, in turn, help the greater collective, just like those individuals that are connecting to, shall we say, lower-based energies, frequencies. In many respects, they're helping, unknowing to them, but on a soul contract level, they are helping the consciousness and evolution of the planet by adhering to their soul contract, walking their path, But it's going to be even more obvious now that there is a significant split in your society where a lot is going to happen to the point where tears will be shed, emotions will be running high, and shall we say the mentality of your planet is going to change. And it needs to be observed rather than absorbed, because if you absorb it, then it's going to pull you under, like those individuals that have elected to do the very same. It's entirely up to you. You can swing either way. But we just want to make you aware of the situation, that there's light and there's dark, and there's a reason why there's light and dark, and that you all play a role in order to facilitate the greater good. Okay, so I've been informed that it's my time to leave you, and I'd like to thank you for listening to this transmission.
Great information there from the world of spirit. Really enthused with that one. So now we're going to move into the next segment of the show, which is a sneaky peek into this week's forecast reading. So sit back and enjoy. Hello, my name is Glenn Boddice and I'm a spiritual medium, and welcome to this week's energy forecast reading for the week commencing Monday, the 29th of December 2025. Now, those of you that watched me work before will know that I connect with my spirit guides and helpers, and also consult the wisdom of the Angel Tarot cards. So what I'm about to do is shuffle the pack and allow a card to come out for this week's forecast reading. So here is your card. I'm now going to link into the vibration of that. First of all, I'm being told to tell you to take it easy, slow down. You deserve this rest. You deserve this recalibration. I feel with most of you that are watching this, there is a sense of impatience. And I feel with this, you have lots of ideas, lots of inspirations coming in. And with this being the case, you want to run before you can walk. This period of time within this week will give you that beautiful opportunity to connect internally with yourself and connecting with your true heart's calling, your true heart's desires. In other words, creating a manifestation list of what you want to create for your year of 2026. So rather than doing things out of obligation, you're being encouraged to actually listen to those innermost stirrings. No matter how much your mind thinks that it's impossible for it to occur, this is the end of the free version of the weekly forecast reading. If you would like to see the entirety of this week's forecast reading, then you can do that by subscribing. And as a subscriber, what you will receive is the full version of the weekly forecast reading. You will also receive the audio for the weekly radio show, and also you'll receive 10% off all of my spiritual services there. So this includes all of the readings there for you to benefit from. And also you will receive new updates and information and news of what's happening with myself and the services that I provide, and also the events that I take part in. You'll hear all about that ahead of everybody else. And this is because you're a subscriber to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium. So you can find a link either above or below this video, where by clicking on the link, you can then become a subscriber to reap all of the benefits that I've described to you. So I look forward to having you on this journey with me as a Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium subscriber. Thank you for taking time to watch this video and supporting the work that Spirit and myself work together in doing so. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, the last one of 2025. I'd like to wish you all an amazing Happy New Year moving forward, and, want to wish you every success. But please stay tuned in the new year, because still every Monday, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, on all of my social media platforms and my website, I will be doing From Beyond with Glenn Boddice, speaking about all things spiritual, paranormal and self-help. If you want to get in touch, contact me at www.glennboddicespiritualmedium.com. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to From Beyond. For more information about what products and services Glenn provides, go to Glenn Boddice Spiritual Medium